Hi gang, Alan Combies here, creator of this little video series that I call Morning Coffee with Alan. So today what I want to talk about is, I had a client, not a client, actually a friend that I was helping. I sat with them and I helped them through a lot of issues that had sort of been haunting them through childhood, which, we all have. And it's so important to really address these things, address the memories that we have, the past guilts and memories that we have that make us feel like we messed up somehow, or we continue to rehearse them over and over and over again. One of the keys to living a happy, successful life is being aware of what you're doing in your mind and how you're holding on to these old events. Yes, they all happened at one time, excuse me, but there is a lesson. You've learned the lesson, and maybe now it's a good time to move on, to build upon that lesson, and forgive yourself and move through life with new resources. And so I was working with a friend and helping them through this process of learning how to forgive themselves and build new, more powerful resources. And I spent a few hours working with them, and a few weeks later, this person lives in a different city. A few weeks later, I followed up with them and asked them how they were doing, and they began to tell me about things that were not quite working in their life and going through some things. They were going through some stuff, and I said, "All right, that's good." I said, "Okay. Are you doing the exercises that I told you? Are you tapping?" And they said, well, now and then, here and there. And I said, okay. Well, just so you know, I tap every single day. And, I told them this not to judge them, but just to let them know that, this process is the process of tapping and cleaning up your past. This is a life skill. You are relearning something. You're reteaching. You're teaching yourself something. And if you think about it, all of your problems, everything that's challenging you today, you had to rehearse it. You had to create it. You had to find a way to continually think about it in a way that it caused stress in your life. You may be using certain events in your life today to prove that you feel or are supposed to behave a certain way because of past experiences that you've had that you've held on to. They say, like in the whole law of attraction thing, what you affirm to be true, you get more of. And so if you're holding on to all these old hurts and traumas from your past, you are essentially asking for more of it as you move through life. And so the more you can go back and clean that stuff up. Now, if you've been doing it for a long time, I often say it can be difficult to identify these thoughts and these belief systems, right? Because it's like the fish swimming around in the water going, what water, So what we can do is just begin to acknowledge the feeling. And this is one of the most powerful concepts you can do. I've often said there's 3 stages to this healing process. One is seeing a practitioner, of course, and having someone else guide you through this process. 2 is really sitting down and doing deep work on yourself. And 3 is just beginning to tap in the heat of the moment, as we call it. And I think the reason that most people don't follow through with this, and by the way, all 3 of those are equally as important in my opinion, but I believe the reason people don't follow through with tapping in the heat of the moment is, number 1, I think they just don't understand why they're doing it. What's the point of it? And so I want to try to explain a little bit, give a little more clarity when it comes to tapping in the heat of the moment. So again, we've gone through life, and when we've gone through life, as we're going through life right now, there are times in our life when we notice we're just not feeling very good. Now, I don't know about you, but in the past, for me, if I noticed that feeling, I would just kind of think, well, I'm not feeling good because I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, I've got this going on, I've got all these problems, and we just tend to accept those feelings as our reality. But they're not reality, they're simply what we're thinking about. And those thoughts are causing our bodies to react in a certain way. It's a stress reaction. And so what can you do when this happens? Well, number one is you can notice it. Begin to notice when you are going down that path. Begin to notice when you're not feeling very well, because that's a signal. That's an alarm system going off that says that your thinking is going in the wrong direction. And so begin to notice whenever you notice it. Some people might think, oh, I forgot to notice it, and they start beating themselves up for that. Don't need to beat yourself up. Just notice it when you notice it. You may notice it right when it begins, or you may notice it when you're in full throttle, stressed out mode. Just notice it when you notice it. And of course, the more you do this, the more you can begin to catch it before it gets to that heightened stress response, right? So the better you get at this, the quicker you can catch it, and the quicker you catch it, the less you experience that stress that so many of us feel. And so why the tapping? The tapping, think of it this way. You're beginning to interrupt that thought process. You feel the feeling, you do something different. Instead of entertaining that feeling and allowing the thoughts to sort of fester and gather, and really what you're doing is you're putting yourself into this big trance, this problem trance. And what you can do, instead of allowing that to happen, just do something different. Interrupt that whole process by using the tapping. All right? What do you say? It doesn't really matter. Just do it. You can just say, let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Tap on the 5 points, take a deep breath. You can squeeze your wrist. That's another point. And the breathing is so important because, we are dealing with a stress response. And so half the time when we're in this stressed out mode, we're not even breathing. And so take the time to address it. Do something different. Think of it as interrupting this process that you normally would go through. So you feel the feeling, you notice it, you just say, okay, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. You take a deep breath, blow it out. Deep breath again, very important. Blow it out. Say a calm, nice feeling word, something that elicits a positive response like peace. And then check back. Can you still feel it? Now, this is not about addressing it until it's gone. It's not about addressing it, it's not about spending all day doing this. It's really not. It's simply creating a new habit. You're creating the habit of recognizing when you're doing this and interrupting it. So even if you just do it once, even if you just tap on it, even if you just go, oh, there it is, I'm doing it again, let it go, peace. The reason, again, is that you're retraining yourself. You're giving your mind and body a signal to not necessarily go down that road anymore with your thoughts and your feelings, and training your mind and body to do something different. You're heading it off at the pass. You're redirecting yourself whenever you begin to feel those feelings. Now, of course, to get a little more detailed, if you notice what you're thinking about when you do the tapping, then you can just aim at that thought. Notice the thought. Notice the part that bothers you, and then tap. And of course, that's a gift. That's a bonus, because a lot of times these thoughts and trances can be so deep we don't even know what we're thinking about, because there's always a thought that creates the feeling. But when we've done it for so long, we're the fish in water going, what water? And so as you begin to tap, you may begin more and more to notice the thought behind the feeling. And that is a gift, because what's happening is it's going from the unconscious, habitual thought, and we're bringing it to conscious awareness. And the gift of bringing it to conscious awareness is then you can say, aha, that's it. And you can address it, and you can release it, change it, release the emotional charge, turn it into something you want, make it a positive. Listen, when these things are in your face and there's a lot of emotional charge, it's hard to think there's any other way out. But if you stay persistent and you continue addressing the feelings and the thoughts, eventually there's no more emotional juice to it, and you can change how you represent whatever that was. Oftentimes it happens automatically. Sometimes it just comes to a neutral point, and you can say, okay, well, how would I like this to go? Because remember, it's all in the past. It's no longer happening now. And so you can actually change how you represent these things. The most successful people in the world have one thing in common. They have very powerful self-talk. They continually rehearse positive statements to themselves. They have a belief about themselves that they can accomplish things, and if they don't accomplish things, they're resilient enough to know they can get through it and learn from the experience. All right? I hope that makes sense, and thank you for watching as always. This is Alan Combies, FasterEFT practitioner, creator of Morning Coffee with Alan. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much.